Eli, was that game where 2 Hornet Queens hit the battlefield and Jakob was still able to win. If that's not how you win this matchup, I don't know how these Temur Transmogrify decks actually do it. So, yeah, big advantage to Eli. And these players, we were talking to them before the match, they think this is a win and in cleanly.
Alrighty, well, let's get this game underway. Starting things off with a Mausoleum Wanderer. Players both look like they've got pretty good opening hands here. Another Mausoleum Wanderer to go. There is a Make Disappear. Do we make this go bye-bye? Let's see. Let's give it a whirl. See if there's a counter.
Eli's already ready with the spell
Yeah.
pierce. Like, if you try it, I will be countering this. The play pattern in these early turns especially are dictated from the mono blue spirit side, where if they have the counterspell to force it through, they're pretty likely to do so. And the one thing that's pretty much lacking, or is lacking, from Karl's side is no real turn 3 play. If we don't see anything, it might just be purchase Yorion, and that's not exactly what you want. Big draw right there to actually be able to do something here.
Yeah, okay, something proactive to do, not just fetch Yorion from the companion zone, so...
The one thing about this, though, Eli, that's kind of brutal is Fire Prophecy. You would love to get rid of either Luca or Transmogrify here and find something else. Mausoleum Wanderers, as long as Eli does sacrifice this, you don't have to pay it, of course, but you do not get that ability, unlike Witherbloom Command, like we just saw, where you kind of get the 2 abilities.
Yeah, unfortunately there. Won't be able to send anything back, but at least he's not sitting with a hand of 2 Hornet Queens, which we have seen this weekend already. So
yeah. Too soon.
No.
Too soon.
Too soon? Okay. Sorry. Well, on Eli's side of things, he's going to be pretty happy with how things are shaking out. Does have the Lofty Denial, so if there is any shenanigans from Karl Sarap's side of things, he's got that covered. Geistlight Snare as well. And the Spectral Sailor if he just wants to flash that in on the end step. So, there's the sad Yorion to hand you were talking about.
Yeah, not great, absolutely. And the one thing Eli would have loved to do is get a land there, so no matter what, he could have played Ascendant Spirit. But the one thing that he was very much afraid of is just a Azeka's Chariot being slammed. That would have been very devastating without leaving up Lofty Denial or Geistlight Snare.
Yeah. Definitely don't want the cat car on the battlefield because, you know, this does turn into a creature slapfest after a while.
It really does. That's something you can beat later on in the game by just flying over it, but in those early turns, it ends up being very strong. Yeah.
Certainly. So no land number 3 here for Eli Kassis, so it makes his options a little bit more limited. Shacklegeist, Ascendant Spirits aplenty, as well as the Geistlight Snare and Lofty Denial, but he's saying, you know what? Let's go. Let's just start swinging. 3 points damage coming in. Down to 14 goes Karl Sarap.
Yeah, and that's just saying, you know what, I know you could Yorion next turn, but I can beat that. I can Shacklegeist, I can tap it down, and that's not the biggest deal. And if you didn't try to cast Azeka's Chariot on that last turn, you're probably not going to try it this turn.
You have no white mana, so Yorion Sky Nomad. Sad Yorion. Doesn't get to flicker anything.
Sad noodle.
Yeah, sad noodle. As we see a Rattle Chains there off the top of the library for Kassis, but, you know, he seems to be doing all right.
Yeah,
just with 2 lands.
Yep, not bad with 2 lands. This deck definitely can operate on that kind of amount of lands. Of course, you would love a 3rd one here to be able to start playing Ascendant Spirit and leave up one of these counter spells. But actually, Rattle Chains was probably the 2nd best thing next to a land. And speaking of best thing, Shark Typhoon had to have been the best draw there.
Indeed. You mentioned Sharks jumping in as chump blockers, as basically Alpha Strike Team.
Yes.
Just munching on one of these little spirits. And nothing that Eli Kassis can do unless he finds a Brazen Borrower.
Yeah, you do have to shackle guys so you can at least tap them down. But if you have to attack with like one creature
just
while
one,
you're also tapping down Yorion and stuff, it ends up being pretty brutal. So things are actually looking quite good for Karl so far.
I mean, I'd still dream of seeing a hardcore Shark Typhoon, but there's only 2 rounds left in the day, so unlikely at this point. There is land number 3, finally for Eli Kassis. Right on time. What, turn 6?
Yes.
As, yes, is to be expected. Now, where do we go from here? 2 copies of Ascendant Spirit and 2 reactive spells.
So I think we can just say go. I don't think we want to get aggressive and attack this turn because it's a little brutal. You have to tap down a Yorion with 2 of the creatures. Maybe you could attack with the other 2, but if there's a shark, which I'm sure Eli can kind of smell out, then you're in a lot of trouble. You just say go. With Rattle Chains in play, you're able to flash in those Ascendant Spirits later. And if Karl doesn't play anything that Eli has to counter with Lawfully Denial or Geistlight Snare, then you can just flash both those in, tap up to 3 creatures, which is probably what we're going to see, or at least tap these 2 creatures, and then you get to go maybe every other turn approach a combat phase, like tap these down, the next turn attack. Then Karl will untap those 2 creatures. Eli won't be able to attack. Tap them down, then attack, rinse and repeat until Karl's dead.
Little itty-bitty bits of chip damage just going in there, you know. Get him dead eventually, as we're going to see land for turn. Followed up potentially here by Luca, Coppercoat Outcast.
And here's a nice play, not going for Transmogrify, going for Luca, because next turn, untapped Stomping Ground can double Transmogrify and really put Eli to the test, especially with Lawfully Denial being one of the other counter spells. You could just pay for the first one instead of having to commit both of them.
For sure. So Luca bites the dust, but importantly, 1 counterspell out of the hand of Eli Kassis. 2 other unknown cards. One of them may become known here on the end step, flashing in, but it does look like we're going to see what you mentioned. Tap, tap, smack, smack.
And we noticed that Eli was like, normally you want to tap beginning of combat so they don't attack, but Eli's like, yes, please attack. Go ahead.
Come
no
at me.
big
Then I
deal.
don't have to do anything. It's fine. And attacker, or excuse me, defender's down. Rattle Chains, Ascendant Spirit, and a Lofty Denial, and that's not an inconsequential amount of damage there, friend.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see if we see like 5 attackers, 3 attackers, or 4. I think that's the decision. How many do you want to leave back to tap down? I really like 4 because then you can flash in.
I like the attack all button, if you ask me. That just seems to be the quicker way to do that there. Down to 5 goes Karl. And this isn't looking super hot right now, but like you mentioned, is able to resolve, or is he still able to? Yeah, still able to resolve the Transmogrify. There is a Make Disappear here for Karl Sarap too, if he wants to fight over it that way.
Very much is able to just resolve one of these Transmogrifies, so we could and almost assuredly will see Titan of Industry hit the battlefield. It'll just come down to the aspect, is it enough? Does it actually beat Shacklegeist right now?
Yeah, because even though it's a big old 7/7, it has reach and trample and all these wonderful things and can gain you 5 life. 10 isn't a lot when you're facing down 5 flyers.
Yeah, and it'll actually have to be 2 less. It'll have to be 8 because you have to really take 2. And if you
for
don't,
the Stomping Grounds.
Exactly. If you don't, Transmogrify will get lawfully denied, and then you can flash in the Stomping Ground and Transmogrify. So it'll be interesting if Karl values not taking 2 damage and is okay losing one of these spells. I actually really like this play. I think this is very smart because now this counterspell is going to look good. So Eli's going to do it, and then you get to Transmogrify, so then Eli can only flash in 1 of the spirits and can't tap anything down. So this is actually a pretty...
Oh, we're going to use the Mausoleum. So still had a counterspell.
Whoa. Okay,
in the holster there, courtesy of the Mausoleum Wanderer getting the buff.
That was one of the lines that did not allow Titan of Industry to come into play. So Karl was playing around something else, but once that Make Disappear got on the stack, it was pretty brutal. I mean, I guess the whole time Mausoleum Wanderer could have just countered that if you lawfully denial plus that. So yeah, I guess it really was
he
under
was trying
wrap.
to avoid taking the extra damage there, and understandably so, considering the amount of flyers. I don't even think that the Titan of Industry coming in would have done all that much.
I don't think it would have either. But yeah, absolutely. Of course, the Mausoleum Wanderer always being that sneaky spirit that was going to prevent that play. Anyways, so Eli really had it all wrapped up there. Apologies
for sure.
on that.
That was a bit of a Hail Mary anyway. You know, if it resolves and Eli sneezes and hits, skip through the combat step, perhaps. There's always an out, right?
Yep,
you have to believe. All right, sideboard time. Hornet Queen in. Mr. Titan of Industry out.
Pretty interesting to see Azeka's Chariot be taking out. That is a card that is very good against these mono blue decks. if it lands. You
Yeah.
know, of course, if it doesn't, it is just a 4-mana card that gets hit by Spell Pierce, which is not ideal. But, you know, it at least would have looked great in this game, but that doesn't mean that it would look good in every game.
Ready, so Karl's going to hope for the absolute nut draw. That wasn't it. He's going to mulligan that away. Is happier with this. Make Disappear, Fable, and Luca. Not too shabby.
In a perfect world, if you top deck a land, this is a turn for Hornet Queen
Yeah.
to put a bunch of insects, and then we'll see if Spectral Sailor can, you know, kind of do as good of work as we saw it earlier against a resolved Hornet Queen.
Mausoleum Wanderer just chipping in here for 1 point of damage. Shark Typhoon in hand, available to make an itty creature. No Transmogrify right now. So Karl does have reactive permission here and Make Disappear for anything that Eli Kassis may want to flash in on the end step.
Yep, here is the consideration to go for Fable. Eli would love it. Eli has Spell Pierce and Spectral Sailor, or if you just want to hold up a counter spell. Not taking 2 damage here definitely indicates that there was not going to be a cycled Shark Typhoon for 1, even if you didn't have a counter spell. But now not taking 2 does allow this Mausoleum Wanderer to make the decision of what I'd rather have, a Rattle Chains or a Wanderer. And a Rattle Change is much better here. Just being able to play Supreme Phantom later, and look at that Curious Obsession off the top.
Ooh, now we're cooking with gas. Eli Kassis just putting foot, saying, alrighty, you want to counter all my stuff? I'm just going to make this a very difficult game for you because, you know, being on the play in Karl Sarap's position, you want to be the proactive player, but now Eli Kassis is just forcing him to have answers for everything that he's developing.
And look at this. I think we might see this kind of play pattern come up, and it's going to be insane. If Rattle Chain comes in and this 2/2 Shark Typhoon blocks Rattle Change, which you almost have to, Supreme Phantom's going to be the hit. You don't even need to Petty Theft. You can save that for later. Oh, extremely strong there. Extremely strong. Wow, okay, yeah, that was an absolute blowout. And then now without Karl able to draw another land, this is just 2/2 Sharks at best. Omen looks like a desperation play here. You just got to think that this is already over, and this is looking like Eli Kassis might be our first player to lock up a Sunday appearance.
Could well be, my friend, and you got to be very happy about that if you're Eli Kassis fans. Another Ascendant Spirit being drawn here. Spell Pierce, Ether Gust, Rattle Chains, Brazen Borrower. He just has everything you could possibly want.
That is so good right now.
And he's just swinging in here. Drawing more cards, courtesy of the Curious Obsession. And there's land number 4, just to allow him to do absolutely everything he wants all at once. Careful Cultivation is going to create the little 1/1 mana dork.
Yeah, that hand just has everything. It's extremely powerful. You have really every option. Ascendant Spirit is the only card that really doesn't interact in the most profitable way, but you know, it is still just an extremely strong card, but everything else just interacts with removal
And that's just
in
so
such an
rude.
amazing way.
Oh, petty thefting that tiny little mana dork that Karl would have loved to have available to him. Here we're going to see a 2/2 Shark just try and keep him alive in this situation. Unfortunately, he's not even going to be able to take care of this Rattle Chains, being a 4/3.
It does look like it will at least keep Karl alive for another turn. There's not a petty theft to just lock it up right now, but here comes 5 damage, heading to 2. And yeah, Karl's getting ready, understands how much pressure this is and what this situation entails.
Oh, man. This is just brutal. Down to 2 he goes. Eli Kassis is about to be 10-3 at the World Championship, and that is 99.9% likely.
Yes.
I'm not going to say 100% just in case, but you got to think that's a lot for day
Absolutely.
number 2. 3, excuse me.
And Karl fans out there
out
still
your own
have
way.
another chance.
I respect it, sir. Shock myself. Go down to 0. Eli Kassis picking up